Good evening, brethren. Tonight we're going to study NejemYah, chapter 6 of NejemYah, verse 1. And it came to be when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that there were no breaks left in it, though at that time I had not set up the doors in the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, Come, let us meet together in the villages in the plain of Ono. But they were planning to do evil to me. So pretty fitting for the place to be called Oh No. Like, oh no, I'm not going at all. uh, so let me see what it means in Hebrew. Oh no, vigorous, strong. It comes from on, vigor, power, wealth, physical strength. Well, here we have also first fruits of strength, as in Reishit Ha'on, the first of the strength, and also connects with a false Elohim worshipped in Egypt. That's why it says here wickedness, sorrow, trouble, idolatry, and all of that. In this case, Aven, emptiness, vanity. Going back to verse 1, just to explain a couple of things. Remember that Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem were a representation of the two beasts and the image of the beast, the world leader, the false prophet, and the false Messiah. So, and it came to be when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem the Arab and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall. Obviously, he didn't do it himself all alone, but since he is the head or the leader, he says, I had rebuilt the wall. He's not like being full of himself. He's just being clear with the understanding of the culture that as him being the leader, he could speak in first person. And I say all of that because he's also a representation of the last who comes to rebuild the doctrine, as in put everything together, the correct way for everybody to understand and come out of the apostasy. In the apostasy, in the false doctrines that we see in Christianity, there are a lot of holes in their doctrines. That's why it says here, and that there were no breaks left in it. So when you are able to understand the entire scriptures and therefore feel with understanding each of the holes that are found in the false doctrines, then that is a representation of rebuilding the wall that will protect. So, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that there were no breaks left in it, though at that time I had not set up the doors in the gates. This, for instance, connects with the beginning of the ministry of the two witnesses. When the wall is being rebuilt and the holes are being filled, but the doors to enter the new reality have not been placed, which would be the seals on the foreheads during the trumpets, as we see in the book of Revelation. So at that time, I had not set up the doors in the gates. Interestingly enough, in the previous chapter, we saw a representation of the third seal. The third seal is pretty much during the second year of the last seven. The trumpets would begin during the third year. So in a way, it fits with that chronologically, since in what I was explaining, the gates, the doors would be the seal that will lead each and everyone who is sealed through the gate into the new reality without having to experience death. And that will be given during the trumpets, which are after the seals. And like I said, the previous chapter connected with the third seal. So this chapter, in a way, would connect with that time of the beginning of the ministry of the two witnesses. Then it says that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me saying, Come, let us meet together in the villages in the plain of Ono. But they were planning to do evil to me. So if we see Ono as a false Elohim, like the one in Egypt, On, obviously connects with what Sambalat and Geshem represent as the beast and the false Messiah, the beast and the image of the beast. Also connects with the idolatry which they represent. For we saw Aven connected with Ono as wickedness, iniquity. And when it comes to strength, which was the first meaning of it, strength, vigor, then they would want to become stronger by killing NejemYah. They wanted to be stronger than NejemYah. So then Sanballat and Geshem sent to me saying, come, let us meet together in the villages in the plain of Ono. But they were planning to do evil to me. Just like the beast, through the influence of the false Messiah, which is Apollyon, Abaddon, will have the two witnesses killed. So I send messengers to them saying, I am doing a great work and I am unable to come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and come down to you? However, they send me the same word 4 times, and I answered them the same word. Then Sanballat sent his servant. When it comes to this 4 times, for instance, we know that the curse, the generational curse lasts 4 generations. After that, Yahweh cuts it and pretty much starts over again if the family continues in the sin. But the generational curse lasts for 4 generations. Just like it is said in the teachings of reincarnation that you are sent to this earth once and then you are allowed to come 3 more times. If you only do wrong, then that will be all the times you will get. So that is like the most that Yahweh will take from the wicked. Now we have the wicked sending 4 times this message, hoping to be able to destroy or curse NejemYah. Just like there are 4 levels of interpretation, 4 levels of creation, and the 4 letters of the name of Yahweh, and the 4 corners of the earth through which the doctrine of the 2 witnesses will go. So, however, they sent me the same word 4 times, and I answered them the same word. So that would connect with how they will try to kill the 2 witnesses, but they won't be able during their 1,260 days of ministry. They sent me the same word 4 times, and I answered them the same word. Then Sanballat sent his servant to me with an open letter in his hand. The same word. The 5th time. We see this 5th time as an extra one, like showing that it was too much, that it was being they were being really, they were putting a lot of pressure pretty much. The 5th, number 5, connects with favor, with revelation, which is interesting because this was an open letter. The 5th was an open letter, just like the 5 represents revelation, open, a window. The 5th time, in it was written, among the nations, it has been heard. And Gashmu is saying that you and the Yahudim are planning to rebel. Therefore, you are rebuilding the wall and you are to be their sovereign, according to these words. So look how, since he was having authority now, NejemYah, now they are feeling pressured, scared, and they make up this story that he was to become their sovereign. But it's interesting because it seems like a fact in the sense that could be seen as a prophecy of the fact that when the last comes, he comes to establish the kingdom and become the sovereign, make a wall to leave the enemy out. So we see here, and it was written among the nations, it has been heard among the nations after he had been called 4 times first, by the 4 corners of the earth. And Gashmu is saying, which would be connected with the fifth. Let me see the name Gashmu, the same Geshem, called there Gashmu. Geshem means rain. Now here we see Gashmu. Gashmu, in this case, would be his rain. Well, that would be Gashmu. Gashmu would be his reigning. So then Sambalat said, "In servant to me with an open letter in his hand, the same word the fifth time in it was written among the nations is that it has been heard." And Gashmu is saying that you and the Yahudim are planning to rebel. Verse 6. Let me see it here in Hebrew real quick. Written in it, it says, in the nations it is heard. And Gashmu, just for general knowledge, the Gimel is 3, the Shin is 300, the Mem is 40, and the Vav is 6. So we would have 349. 349. But I do see well, like I mentioned, I think in the previous study, that here we have name. This would be his name, Shemo. And this is pretty much movement or a foot that stands or trottens down on the name, on his name. And as we know, it is the false Messiah represented by Geshem. It is the false Messiah who brings destruction to the earth, the abomination of desolation, like rain, like the flood. He comes as with a flood, as we read also in Daniel. But he steps on the name of the Most High and that of his Son. That's why he took it out of the scriptures in order for the translators to write a false name that would represent him. So it's interesting that the name of Geshem here, which represents the false Messiah, has within it a foot on his name, other than the other things I already mentioned. So Gashmu is saying that you and the Yahudim are planning to rebel. Therefore, you are rebuilding the wall, and you are to be their sovereign according to these words. And you have also appointed prophets to proclaim concerning you at Jerusalem, saying, a sovereign is in Yehudah. And now these words are heard by the sovereign. Therefore, come now and let us take counsel together. Look how they were making up stuff, just like the Pharisees were making up stuff to kill Mashiach. In this case, they were saying that he wanted to become king of the Yahudim. In Mashiach's case, they were saying something similar, for they wrote king of the Yahudim, but they were blaming him or of wanting to destroy the temple and other things. Here, NejemYah is building the wall, and they are blaming him or saying that he wanted to become the sovereign of the Yahudim. Mashiach came to build the congregation, and they were telling him that he wanted to destroy the temple. So, and you have also appointed prophets, as saying that they were false prophets. Like if it were as easy as just telling somebody, prophesy good things for me, please. Obviously, a prophet has to say what the Almighty tells him to say. If a prophet says something that he's told by another person, then he's a false prophet. So in a way, they were saying that NejemYah was putting false prophets in place. And you have also appointed prophets to proclaim concerning you at Jerusalem, saying, a sovereign is in Yehudah. And now these words are heard by the sovereign. Therefore, come now and let us take counsel together. So they were trying to put fear in his heart about what the sovereign would be hearing from the nations and Gashmu, so that he would go and meet with them and get killed pretty much. Then I sent to him, saying, there are no such matters done as you are saying, but you are inventing them in your own heart. So he was clear, direct. I know you're just making it up. For all of them were making us afraid, saying, let their hands slacken for the work, and it not be done. But now make my hands strong. So they were trying to make them waste their time and not do the work for it not to be done. But as NejemYah says here, but now make my hands strong. And when I came to the house of Shemaiah, son of Delaiah, son of Mehetabel, who was restrained, he said, let us meet together in the house of Elohim inside the Hekal, the temple, and let us close the doors of the Hekal, for they are coming to kill you. By night, they are coming to kill you. So he already knew that they were coming to kill him by night. As we know, once again, the night represents the end times, for the last comes as a thief in the night. And he is within the temple, that is Mashiach. Now let me see these names real quick from verse 10. Shemaiah means heard by Yahweh, heard by Yah. Yah means Yahweh has drawn, whom Yahweh has freed. And then we have Mehetabel, which is favored of Elohim. Pretty much he who receives the good of Elohim, he whom Elohim benefits. So, and then when I came to the house of he who is heard by Yah, as we know, Yahushua is our intercessor, and we are heard by Yahweh because of our belief in Mashiach. That's why we pray in the name of the Son, Yahushua. So, and when I came to the house of he who is heard by Yah, whom Yah has drawn or freed from death by resurrecting him, drawn to him by sitting him at the right hand, and then he who has received the goodness of Elohim, he who Elohim has favored. Pretty much representing the protection that Mashiach gives to the last, pretty much to the two witnesses while they are in their ministry, their testimony. So when I came to the house of he who is heard by Yah, whom Yah drew near to him to give him all his goodness, who was restrained, he said, let us meet together in the house of Elohim inside the Hekal, and let us close the doors of the Hekal, for they are coming to kill you. By night they are coming to kill you. And I said, should a man like me flee? And who is there like me who would go into the Hekal to save his life? I do not go in. So, what I mentioned earlier, having to do with the fact that the Hekal is the temple, and obviously Mashiach is the temple, and obviously is Mashiach, the one who protects the last. But in this case, we see the bravery of NejemYah and his confidence in the protection that the Most High gives him over the protection that the stones of the temple could give him, or the whatever respect the people would have for what was left of the temple there. So, and I said, should a man like me flee? Just like I repeat, the two witnesses will be preaching for 3.5 years, and people will try to kill them, but Yahweh will make them be killed in the same manner in which they tried to kill the two witnesses. So the two witnesses won't flee. In fact, Yahweh tells the last through Jeremiah, that he shouldn't fear anything or anybody. And if he fears anything, he will be punished. For the last represents the Almighty, who does not fear anything. Therefore, here we see a representation of that in NejemYah. And I said, should a man like me flee? And who is there like me who would go into the Heikal to save his life? I do not go in. And see, I perceived that Elohim had not sent him, but that he spoke this prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. So look how amazing. He was being betrayed by this person who once again had three different, well, we see obviously he had one name, but we see in the verse that mentions him refers to three names that all are positive. And like I said, in the positive way of interpreting those names would be representing the Messiah, who protects the last. But now we see that he was being sent by Tobiah and Sanballat, who represent the false prophet and the world leader. So the two beasts will send false prophets, false followers, Talmidim, disciples, or whatever, to manipulate or try to manipulate the two witnesses for them to fall in their trap. But which is interesting is that the bravery that Yahweh gave NejemYah was pretty much what saved him. And then he found out that he was a false prophet trying to set him a trap. So when I said, should a man like me flee? I was going to go back to 10. And when I came to the house of Shemaiah, son of Delaiah, son of Mehetabel, who was restrained, he said, let us meet together in the house of Elohim inside the Heikal, and let us close the doors of the Heikal, for they are coming to kill you. By night, they are coming to kill you. In a way, he was telling him the truth, as in they're coming to kill you right there. And I say that in the sense that since, well, in the past, they would believe a lot more in the Creator than nowadays. Sometimes they would say things in a way to be able, according to their evil heart, to justify whatever they would say or do. My point is that here, he actually said they're coming to kill you. If anything would happen to him, then he would say, I told you so. And I said, should a man like me flee? And who is there like me who would go into the Heikal to save his life? I do not go in. And see, I perceived. So Yahweh gave him discernment. I perceived that Elohim had not sent him. So it wasn't Elohim telling him, take care of yourself, go and hide in the temple. And see, I perceived that Elohim had not sent him, but that he spoke this prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. Because he was a hireling, that I should be afraid and do so, and shall sin. And so they could give me an evil name to reproach me. Look at that verse. Because he was a hireling, that I should be afraid. So they were trying to make him afraid by telling him that they were coming to kill him. So if he were to hide, it would be because of fear. So lack of faith and therefore sin, like I mentioned regarding Yirmiyahu in the last. That I should be afraid and do so and shall sin. Do so, go to the temple, afraid, and then I would sin. And so they could give me an evil name, that of a sinner, of somebody who's afraid, somebody who doesn't trust Yahweh. But also just like they gave a false and therefore evil name to the Messiah by calling him Jesus, which is not the true name, or Jehovah for the Almighty Creator, when Jehovah would be interpreted as, behold, ruin, destruction. So, and so they could give me an evil name to reproach me. Just like they want to do with the two witnesses, the world will hate them. The media will give them an evil name, in the sense that they will call them by evil titles, and they will claim and say that they are evil. so that people will get to hate them even more. That I should be afraid and do so and shall sin, and so they could give me an evil name to reproach me. My Elohim, remember Tobiah and Sanballat, according to these works of theirs, and their prophetess, Noadiah. So, my Elohim, remember Tobiah and Sanballat, according to these works of theirs, and the prophetess, Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets who would have made me afraid. So, other than the one mentioned here, Shemaiah, there was also the female Noadiah, which would represent the great whore, the whore of Babylon, evil wisdom, the spirit of what they call the Queen of Heaven in the book of Yirmiyahu, Noadiah. So let me check that name. Meeting with Yahweh, with whom Yahweh meets. So Noadiah and the rest of the prophets who would have made me afraid. They wanted to make him meet Yah by killing him. So verse 15, and the wall was completed on the 25th of the month of Elul in 52 days. Interesting. 52 days. The 52, for instance, we have, this is the letter Bet, which is 2, and then this is the Nun, which is 50. So 52 is the numerical value of the word sun. So they finished building the wall in 52 days, for it represents the protection given to us by the sun of Yahweh. Also, remember the sun is the temple. And like I have mentioned, for instance, Shor is ox, Shur is wall. So the last is an ox and is like a wall of protection for the 144,000. Also is connected to the New Jerusalem. And he's also a son. So they built the wall in 52 days, which 52 days, which connects to the sun, the last being a wall, a shur, a sun, who comes with Eliyahu. And we have 1 plus 30, that's 31, plus 10, that's 41, plus 5, that's 46, plus 6, that's 52. So the last, who is a son, comes with Eliyahu. The son and Eliyahu are both, they both have the numerical value 52. So through the 52, we have a representation of the son and Eliyahu. And the wall, let me see chapter 15 to see the word they use for wall here. Batishlam, and we completed the wall. Hachoma. In the 25th of Elul, on the 25th of Elul, which is 3 months before Hanukkah. Elul is the month of preparation pretty much for Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur, 30 days of purification. So they finished the wall during the time of Elul. That is very important because the 2 witnesses will finish the testimony during Elul. So they finished the wall on Elul, just like the 2 witnesses finished the testimony on Elul, because they are captured the first day of the 7th month. So they finished on the last day of Elul. And perhaps the 25th of Elul will be key. We will have to see how it connects with the 2 witnesses at the end. But they are captured on the on the 1st of the 7th month, right after Elul is done. So it is a time of preparation, and we see how they finished the wall, which represents the ministry on that month. 25th represents the hand on the crown. The crown, the hand that gives the ruach, the crown of favor, the throne of revelation. So it connects with the last, who comes as a king. So it said, and the wall was completed on the 25th of the month of Elul in 52 days. And that 52 connects with the last and with Eliyahu, who come to complete the ministry on Elul, just like they completed the wall on Elul. And the 25th, I mentioned Hanukkah because remember that what they will build in order to begin the sacrifices in Jerusalem for 1010 days, as we see in the book of Daniel, what they get to build there will be finished by the 25th of the 9th month when they make it happen. So here we see something being completed on the 25th as well, but in this case, something positive that would represent the building of the 144,000 through the true doctrine. So, and the wall was completed on the 25th of the month of Elul in 52 days. And it came to be when all our enemies heard and all the nations around us saw that they fell greatly in their own eyes and knew that this work was done by our Elohim. So when it came to be when all our enemies heard and all the nations around us saw that they fell greatly in their own eyes and knew that this work was done by our Elohim. Just like when we accomplish what the Almighty has for us and get to establish the kingdom of Yahweh on this earth, as we see on Daniel 2, while the 10 kings of the New World Order are ruling, Yahweh will set up a kingdom on this earth that will last forever. So while the two witnesses are setting up that kingdom, then the nations will see and eventually realize that it was Yahweh who did it through us. In those days, the nobles of Yehudah also sent many letters to Tobiah, while those of Tobiah came to them. For many in Yehudah were sworn to him, because he was the son-in-law of Shechaniah, son of Arah, and his son Yahuhanan, and married the daughter of Meshulam, son of Berechiah. So he had a name. He was important to them who judged by appearances and by names, in the sense of by money and all of that. They were also speaking about his good deeds before me and reporting my words to him. Tobiah sent letters to frighten me. So he continued trying to frighten Nehemiah. And look how Tobiah, as we have mentioned in previous chapters, would represent the false prophet. Just like the false prophet will have false humility, and the world will see him as special, as a saint, because he is this and that, or whatever they will say regarding him. Like, for instance, like they talk about the Pope. So let me see these names of verse 18. And it's interesting that they mention Yahuhanan or Yohanan. As we know, Yohanan was the name of the prophet who prepared the way for Mashiach. Therefore, it is a name that in the negative would be connected to the false prophet who would prepare the way for the false Messiah. So interesting that the name Yohanan appears in the line of Tobiah, who represents the false prophet. So we have the first name, Shechaniah, which is dweller with Yahweh. Shechaniah, just like Shekinah, like the Shekinah, he who dwells with Yahweh. Then we have Arach, which is traveler. Then Yahweh has favored Yohanan. Then Meshulam, which is friend, is from the fountain of Shalom, which is what a friend should produce. So friend Meshulam, and then Berechia, whom Yahweh blesses. So through these names, the praise of Yahweh, he who praises Yahweh receives the good of Yahweh. He who praises Yahweh dwells with Yah, and will travel through the favor of Yah to be with the friend whom Yah blesses. Yahushua came to make us friends. That's why he revealed what he was doing, unlike the treatment given to a slave. A slave is not told what is the purpose of what he must do. He's just told what he must do, while the friend is told the reason for doing whatever he's asked to do as a favor. So Mashiach is our friend. Therefore, it is like saying that those who praise Yahweh will receive the good of Yahweh and dwell with Yahweh by traveling through the favor of Yahweh to the presence of the friend who is blessed by Yahweh. They were also speaking about his good deeds before me and reporting my words to him. Tobiah sent letters to Franklin. See the comments here or questions? Verse 6 and 7 is crazy good. See, he was reading among the nation. This has been heard, and Gashmu is saying that you and the Yahudim are planning to rebel. Therefore, you are rebuilding the wall, and you are to be their sovereign according to these words. And you have also appointed prophets to proclaim concerning you at Jerusalem, saying, the sovereign is in Yahudah. And now these words are heard by the sovereign. Therefore, come now and let us take counsel together. Yep. Yeah, interesting how it connects with our time. Then it says, would verse 5 be like the world leader sending a message to the last, denouncing his work on TV? That's when the world would be aware of the two witnesses and hate them. It could be like that, yeah. I mean, it could be that they acknowledge the two witnesses in order to make everybody hate them, but in a way also helps for them to be known. It is quite possible for it to be like that, kind of sending a message as a threat also. They're coming to kill you, said it twice for both first and last. Good point. Yeah. For they're coming to kill you. By night, they're coming to kill you. Yeah, that's a great point. Look how it says, let us close the doors of the Heikal, for they're coming to kill you. Just like they killed Mashiach the first, who is the Heikal. And by night, thief in the night, meaning in the end times, they're coming to kill you once again. As in killing the first, killing the last. Killing the first, who is the temple, killing the last, who comes at night. So yeah, great point.